I used to be stuck in my head all the time, and I hated it. I hated the feeling of overthinking and second guessing myself, wondering if I should say that or would it come off as inappropriate, right? What would they think of me? Would they think I'm weird? And then I would always hold back when I'd flirt with a girl or even talk to a girl because I was afraid of getting rejected and I didn't want things to be awkward, right? I didn't want to be looked at like this. And I had such bad anxiety that my Brad Pitts would start to sweat like crazy. I'd feel like I'm in an interrogation room, right? Whenever I'd talk to people I didn't know at all or know that well, I feel like I'd have to go change my shirt in 10 minutes. This would especially happen when I talked to those hotter girls or when I talked to guys who I perceived as more successful than me, right? I didn't feel like I was worthy to be there. It just got so mentally draining because I would go home and I would replay these conversations in my head while I would try to sleep, right? I'd be thinking to myself, oh, I should have said that, I should have said this, and it just got so exhausting after a while. And I was just tired of it. I was tired of watching other people live the life that I wanted. I was sick of watching people have fun, go out on all these dates, get invited to all the cool parties, while I would stay at home and shoot off to Bang Bros. So the reason I'm sharing this is because I know what it's like to feel trapped in your own head. And I hope that by the end of this video, you guys can at least pick up some pointers and some practical advice so you guys can get out of your head and just be socially free, right? Take the governor off, like in the car. Remove the filter, right? Like some girls need to on Instagram. It's not like I wasn't trying. I would put myself out there continuously, 24/7, because I literally couldn't think of anything else. Like this shit used to eat away at me. It would affect my focus in school. When I would be with my friends and family, I couldn't be present in the conversation because this stuff like weighed on me, right? And it was exhausting. It was an exhausting feeling. It was something that I just felt like needed to be dealt with. But no matter what I was doing, it wasn't working. And I watched all the pickup videos you possibly could. I read all the books. I even tried memorizing like James Bond pickup lines, right? And I would go out, but none of the shit would work, right? And by the end of the day, I would feel even more exhausted. Like I just felt like I was spinning my wheels. That's really what it boiled down to. And I was too embarrassed to tell anybody at the time. I didn't want to tell people that, oh yeah, I was going out trying to pick up girls and trying to get my dating life sorted out, right? So it was just me throwing shit at the wall and hoping something stuck. But I couldn't figure out why none of this stuff would work. I got so obsessive with this stuff that I started writing actual scripts. Like, okay, I'll say this. If she says this, I'll say that. And of course, she would say something that was off script and I'd freeze up, right? And I remember actually having girls look at me like this, right? Because I looked like I was on third base with a catcher's mitt, right? Like so out of place, like, and I just awkwardly walk away. And I hated getting that look. So what I started to realize was that I was so focused on performing, on trying to be other people, that I lost myself in the process. And I remember when I was out with friends one day, they actually commented on that. I remember I tried to stop a girl and say something, and they were like, dude, like, what are you doing? You know, like, why do you act like that? They even like sat me down and were like, man, you're not being yourself. So that made me start to think, like, I had gotten so far down this pickup rabbit hole that I started to lose myself in the process. And then I realized that I wasn't stuck because I wasn't good enough. I was stuck because I was stuck in my head. I was stuck overthinking this shit. I was trying too hard to be perfect. I was trying to get people to like me. I was trying to get validated by other people, right? And they could sense that. We all know when there's that one guy that's just trying a little too hard, right? Trying a little too hard to make friends, and you wonder, like, yeah, he's nice enough, but like, what's wrong with him, right? Like, why does he feel this need to try so hard? And the truth is when you're trying to get people to like you, when you're focusing on an outcome, when you're wondering how you can get invited to the cool parties, get the girl's number, have sex with the girl, You're not present when you're thinking about what you should be saying and all this different shit. It is so hard to just stay focused and actually genuinely respond to what the person is saying. So what I found really helped me was just focusing on being present, focusing on the conversation and authentically responding. Yeah, sometimes it worked, right? Like sometimes a girl would be impressed with the confidence that I had. Some girls would actually agree to going out on a date with me, right? And I would show up, and that's when I thought it would be a little more hard. That's when the difficulty increased a little bit more because I was scared to show her my real self, right? I was still acting, I was still performing. And of course, I would get the texts afterwards like, hey, you're really nice, but there just was no connection, right? Or I just straight up get ghosted, right? I was terrified to show her who I truly was. I was terrified to show people in general who I truly was. I just remember getting so tired of overthinking all this shit, getting so frustrated with remembering these lines and trying to emulate other people that I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be myself. I actually got inspired to do this because I hung out with these guys who, you know, they weren't the best looking, they were a little out of shape, but somehow they would kill it with girls. And I always noticed that when we'd hang out, they'd be the same way, right? Cracking jokes all the time, no filter. And I'd watch them, I'd be like, how do they not care what the girl thinks? And the girls were actually like so into it, right? And I think it's refreshing for women to meet people, I mean, guys in particular, that just don't give a fuck, right? So I started to do that. I started to crack these corny jokes and be myself around women. And yeah, at first it was a little messy, right? I'd have girls straight up walk away or just give me like this kind of look and keep moving. But it felt so freeing. It felt like a massive weight had been lifted off my shoulders because I was no longer hiding who I was. And yeah, like I would get some girls that were like all googly eyed, you know, their eyes would light up like a kid on Christmas when I'd go up and speak to them. And that was the addicting shit, right? I remember getting rejected and just being like, oh my God, like I felt high. Because again, I wasn't rejecting who I was anymore, right? I was putting it all on the line, like take it or leave it. Hey, this is just who I am. There's nothing like attracting women by being your authentic self, right? And that goes outside of just women, right? I got into this solely for the women, right? I wanted to start going on more dates, start having more sex, all this stuff. But what I started to notice was I started to attract the right kind of people in my life, the right kind of friends. You know, even in the friend group that I had at the time, I was always hiding things from them. I was always afraid to be myself, to tell them some of the funny things I like to do, like make pranks and social experiments, right? I would go up to people and awkwardly introduce strangers to each other, or I would speak in this like nonsense language. Like, do you know if there's a sequacious marauder around here that surrounds itself by a primordial octane within the general Costanza, right? And then I was afraid to tell people that because I didn't want to be perceived as awkward or like, you know, have people look at me like, dude, why do you do this shit? And I had plenty of that, right? But I didn't want to tell people that because I was afraid of being judged. So I started to attract the right kinds of people into my life, right? People that had that same similar sense of humor, people that had these dreams, these goals, these ambitions that I did, people that I could relate to, right? I would hold back on telling some of my friends what I wanted to do with my life because I was afraid they'd just be like, oh, come on, man, that's not realistic. Like, why don't you get real, right? And there was plenty of that. So I was just like, okay, I'm not even going to speak anymore, right? And I just hated holding back who I was when I would hang out with my friends. So now I felt truly socially free, right? And I actually was able to deepen my connections with friends and family because I knew exactly who I was and I wasn't afraid to hold back, right? I could just be my authentic self. And that's when I realized that being true to yourself not only attracts the right kind of people into your life, but it is such a good key to living this game we call life, right? To just not caring what other people who wouldn't even attend your own funeral think about you and just being you. And when you let go of that pressure, that anxiety, that tenseness just starts to fade. You start becoming more comfortable in any social situation, whether you're meeting new people, whether you're with a girl you like, right? Whether you're with your friends and your family, because you know what conversations light you up, what conversations you want to have, and what conversations drain you, so you walk the other way, right? And you don't care. You don't care about trying to make people like you because you have boundaries, because you know yourself so well. So just know that if you're stuck in your head, it's not about memorizing pickup lines or saying the perfect thing, right? It's being your true best authentic version, right? Always be improving, growing, learning, and don't care what other people think about you, right? So if you're still stuck caring what other people think about you, if you have a hard time being yourself and you want to make social interactions fun again, hit the link in my description below. We'll hop on a free call and we'll map out how you can start to do that, how you can start to step into that best version of yourself.